Good morning. I would like to talk about the gift of being able to hear from other dimensions. Um, I learned of my gift many, many years ago. I was in my early 20s, and um, I was with my grandmother who was passing away from cancer. And as she was passing, I was very aware of how she was feeling. And I think that at that time it became quite clear to me that I was an empath. I didn't have a label for it, but I knew that I had something special, and that from that point forward, I have always had a sense of my grandma being a voice that speaks to me from the other side. And I think that we have these things happen for us. In my case, I came from an environment as a child that was really not a happy life, and so we learned to hang on to and listen to something different. And in my case, it was my grandmother's. My one grandmother died when I was 9, and my other grandmother died in my 20s. And I loved both of my grandmothers to the point that I had promised that when I had children, I was going to name my little boy Grandpa and my little girl Grandma. So to give you some idea of how sensitive I was to this particular connection, and it was for both grandparents, and additionally it was any older neighbor that I had that was I just tended to gravitate towards that, and those were my best friends. So at this point, I want to talk about spirits that come through and why that is and how that works. Okay, so when I do a reading for someone, and in fact I do readings a lot of times for people who've recently passed, especially if they've passed in a very traumatic way, then they have some things they generally want us to know about how they're seeing things or what they felt, and especially to the loved ones directly, because sometimes having those unsaid things is not only disturbing to the person who has recently passed, but it's also very disturbing to the person who is left behind. So there is some healing work that goes into this. And it does take some understanding of your own ability to hear what they're saying. And I have a couple of different things how it happens for me. When a deceased person is coming in, oftentimes how I get it is they show me pictures. And in addition to that, I will throw tarot cards so that I can tell the story in a structured way as they choose for me to tell it. So I use my cards as a method to help structure the story, but largely I'm seeing pictures in my mind as well as so they're providing me pictures, and I just generally have a knowing. And right now I have been feeling an entourage of deceased people around myself, and every time I encounter someone, every time I do a reading, I am finding that deceased loved ones just very much want to come in and speak to their loved one. And this is, to me, I think it means that the language for them is opening up, and they're able to speak to us. And I also want to tell you one more point about this gift that I have. When I realized that it was bigger than just my grandmother and how I felt about my grandparents and things like that, I happened to be in Orange, California at a pagoda, and it was a Vietnamese speaking pagoda. They were talking about, or attempting, I guess, to invoke a deceased loved one who was a teenager who had passed. And I was in this circle, and of course I don't speak Vietnamese, so I'm not really privy to the process in terms of the language of it. So because I don't speak Vietnamese. And during this process, I was the person whom the deceased loved one wanted to come into. Now, I don't know, I can't really tell you how I translated that, because oftentimes when these things happen, my memory is fairly poor in terms of what got said. And I can give you the gist of it, that he was a young man who passed because he was huffing accelerants. And there was another young man in the circle. And what he wanted that young man to know in the circle that was still alive, that if you huff again, it's you next. So that was what I was asked to say to the young man, and then to the family, that yes, I'm here and I'm okay. I have passed. So to me, that just speaks to the beauty of spirit, and how spirit, in fact, uses us in our simplicity, or our innocence. Because I had no idea what I was about to do. I had no idea I was really walking into something that would maybe change how I saw myself. At any rate, at that point, the pagoda decided that I needed some past life readings, because there was a reason why I was able to do this work, and so easily do this work. So now, that's just a little bit of history about the work I do. I am going to say that I do astrology. I'm a student at a university for astrology, and I believe that we're a series of bits and bytes, and a part of the collective whole, and that we're each programmed or doing, and I don't like the word program because it doesn't sound like we have free will, and we do have free will, but that we come in with an agreement. We come in with what I will call a pre-life agreement. And a lot of times why we need our loved ones that are on the other side to help us and guide us is so that we are able to fulfill the agreements that we have agreed to. So with that, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to ask the cards to tell us about how they speak to us from the other side. And with that, let's begin. All right, so Spirit, please help me understand and help other people understand how it is that you help us to see from the other side, how we get information from the other side, the other dimension. Help us understand how that happens. Help us understand how we get information from the other side. And I am using the Wild Unknown. How do we get information from the other side, Spirit? Help me understand how we get information from the other side. Help me understand how it is that we get information from the other side. Help me understand and explain how we get information from the other side. A lot of times, and really recently, there is a lot of it coming through. Anytime I read on anybody, I'm seeing a deceased loved one that has something they want to say. So I can't say that I've always had that experience. This is more recent that it is becoming like this for me. So that I really, it's just a lot of deceased people coming through. So there is a message that they continuously provide me, which is interesting, and that is that people who are passing away right now with COVID, I'm hearing a lot from them that they're volunteers, that this is a time where we're doing a great cleansing or a rebirth. And in rebirth, there's pain. In rebirth, there's constriction, and there's a lot of unknown. And as we go through this process, a lot of volunteers they've done their part. They've been the light workers they came here to be, and they are letting go and passing on. Not to minimize the effects of COVID. We have, I think to be mindful and respectful at this time is a very important detail. Okay, so the question is about information coming from the other side and those that actually have that gift. How does this happen? Well, I think it happens in a variety of ways. Obviously, I think we come with a variety of talents and ways in which we are able to bring forward information from the other side. To start out with, we have the Two of Pentacles. It's as if in this lifetime, we are cocooned while we're being educated. And we break open into this beautiful butterfly. We break out. And a butterfly flies. A butterfly has a different perspective. They have a different view. They're not bound to walk the earth. They are flying the earth. What it is crossed by is the Sun Illumination. They want to bring things to us. They want us to be able to see. And at times, because really as students on planet Earth, we're kind of in a metamorphosis and in a cocoon. And so it's difficult for us to see. And they are here to help us to see. What is above in a past position is the Seven of Pentacles. It's a lot of hard work for Spirit to communicate with us from the other side. They have to work really hard, and for us to channel their information, we have to work really hard. There has to be a meeting of languages, and sometimes that takes a while to adjust to. Sometimes it happens easily, and oftentimes it does not. Oftentimes it's a lot of hard work for both Spirit that is deceased or dimensionally on the other side, and the person who has this gift. She has much to tell us. The Mother of Cups. She wants us to know she has information for us, that she wants to bring it from on high, from the other side. She has some information she can't give us, some information that is left for us to still be in our cocoons. We're not ready to be butterflies, so we don't get all the information. But yes, Spirit definitely makes every effort to communicate with us and to help us understand that we are not alone, that being alone is an illusion, that the Mother of Cups is there to help us. She's there to comfort us. She's wise, she's peaceful, she's kind. But she doesn't provide us all the information. She only provides us the information that she can provide us, that is necessary for us to have. What is below is that for us, it's hard to receive this information. It's illusionary, it's delusionary. It's hard to understand it. It is hard to receive the information. And likewise, it's hard for Spirit to give it. But I'm almost sensing in this, because this is a past position card, as if Spirit's saying that is going to lift. The veil and the trouble communicating is going to lift. And I know myself recently, my gifts have gone from something, it's kind of morphed into something new. So that and I don't know why this is, but when people commit suicide, this is something that comes to me. I immediately feel as if I was punched in the gut, and I feel like the life has been just drained out of me. And then spirit comes back in and refills my cup, because it's a pretty troubling feeling to have this happen, and puts light into the soul that is just panicking basically as to where to go next, what to do next. And so spirit guides them through. So for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that spirit knows what to do, because certainly I don't. And so things are changing. The illusion and delusion card. The Emperor. This is from on high. We need this information. I think at this time, information is largely provided to us in ways that are inaccurate, divisionary, unnecessary. And so Spirit has a way of balancing out what's needed. So at this time, this is becoming a way for Spirit to come through to us. It's as if our information was provided to us one way, and it's a completion cycle of that process of providing us information. And it is no longer how we're going to get information. We have moved on. We are going to have a more loving and kind way of interacting. Aloneness is an illusion. Illusion and delusion is right next door to this completion process. We are about to move forward into a new way of understanding. We move on to a Four of Swords. A good deal of structure. The Four of Swords, we're like the lamb with the third eye being turned on. But it will take some work and some structure on our part. And Spirit, of course, is there to provide the structure and the support we need as we move forward into this time of awakening. Part of what's happening is a great awakening. Thus, the Sun. And I love that card for this particular reading. That is just a beautiful card. And our hopes and fears, well, we have the Ten of Wands. Kind of a very uncomfortable battle. But in some ways, in this hopes and fears position, it's as if it's saying, this battle, although it's happening right now, dimensionally it's over with. It's already behind you. You just don't know it yet, because the hard work has already been done. And I have to say, I find comfort in that statement. I find comfort. I want the hard work to maybe be behind us, and for us to start coming forward with a way that we can all live peacefully and comfortably and harmoniously together. To conclude, we have a Four of Pentacles. We need to do the work. We need to connect to each other. We need to connect to the earth. We need the structure. And yes, Spirit is here providing us a way forward. At this time, our structure is being remade. So there's much to be hopeful for. Change is frightening. I have to admit, I find myself feeling really somewhat concerned about how we are interacting. At the bottom of the pack, we have the Ten of Swords. we are going through a very difficult battle. I find it interesting that we have a 10 of Wands, a 10 of Swords, and a 10 of Cups. A lot of completion, a lot of endings, and a lot of new beginnings. And so, yes, Spirit is doing everything Spirit can to come forward and to help us. If you get a gut feeling and you feel like you know something, listen carefully. If you feel like you're having issues, don't run from yourself. Ask yourself, what can I do? How can I help myself? How can I be of service? It is okay for you to be of service to yourself. It is okay and important for those of us who are light workers at this time to do our self-esteem work and accept that we're not weirdos or strange. We're gifted and enlightened, and right now we are doing our work. And with that, I conclude. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And if you would like to have a reading, please contact me on www.twiggie.com, and that's TWIGGIE.com. And also, I do a full range of astrology reports. Please check out my site. Thank you.